YouTube boxing's 2022 renaissance, driven by the returns of KSI, Jake Paul, and of course the creation of Misfits boxing as a whole, has resulted in undercard influencers becoming highly sought after draws, and this has created an impalpable buzz around what 2023 may bring to the YouTube boxing fan base. So today, we have compiled a list of the 8 must-see and must-be-made YouTube boxing matches for 2023, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Let's go. Number 8, DEEN the Great vs. WALID Sharks 2. Their November 19th meeting saw a knockdown, drag-out war that ultimately resulted in a comeback TKO victory for the defending Misfits and ICB Super Featherweight Champion, in a victory that some still dispute, specifically WALID Sharks. Following a slow rise from the canvas, WALID turned his back to the referee, forcing the referee to stop the fight, and consequently creating a major controversy around the necessity of the stoppage. The first meeting overall was just an absolute banger that saw arguably the best pound-for-pound boxers in the entire scene, trading heavy blows, and even saw DEEN the Great hit the canvas multiple times. DEEN's amazing comeback, however, and the technique and overall skill that was displayed on the night makes this one just one of the greatest matchups we've seen, and how could you not want to see this fight again? We could do this probably Q2 or Q3 of next year. Make it happen, Misfits. It was the best fight that I think we've seen in the organization. Number 7, Salt PAPI versus Anthony Taylor. Assuming that both men, or at least Salt PAPI, can achieve a victory on the night of X Series 4, this matchup makes all the sense in the world. Anthony Taylor is the most active in the subgenre by far, and Salt PAPI is one of the very best that the scene has to offer, and if he can defeat Josh Bruckner and prove himself to be the problem that many people believe him to be, not a lot of people will be willing to fight him. But you know who will? Anthony mother effing Taylor will. He will have fought 8 times in 365 days by X Series 4. He takes on all comers, and while he's not the most beloved fighter in the scene, people watch him, and Salt PAPI's story is very feel-good and wholesome to many, so they love to watch him. Why not throw these two in the ring across from one another? You could even make it a title eliminator for a Misfits belt, or even do an interim Misfits belt, seeing as the Misfits organization does not work with the ICB anymore. You can't really do international titles. Number 6, Bryce Hall versus DEJI. Coming off of a breakout 2022 that saw DEJI finally pick up a win and even step into the ring with Money May himself, not a lot of matchups make a ton of sense for DEJI right now. However, Bryce Hall and DEJI fight rumors have been tormenting the fan base for years, and 2023 feels like the perfect time for the matchup. Bryce only has fought once, and sure, he was brutalized by Austin McBroom, but my man has 40 street fights.
I've been in over 40 street fights, undefeated by the way.
Put some respect on my man's name. No, I'm just playing. But on a serious note, why not make this matchup? It's fun, and it will likely get DEJI another victory, and it helps set up an Alex Wasabi rematch, or another fight that I'm going to get to in a moment. I say you do DEJI versus Hall, co-main, or even a main event of a Misfits card if it's looking a little bit weaker for March or April, and if DEJI is locked into a multi-fight deal with Global Titans, just do this there, get DEJI off that contract, get him closer to getting out of that contract so he can come over to Misfits, which I feel like is the #1 place to be for influencer boxing right now. Number 5, Logan Paul versus JMX. I mean, this matchup just makes all the sense in the world. JMX has been calling out Logan for really forever, and who else really makes sense for Logan Paul to fight in a return matchup? I mean, personally, I would love to see this in MMA, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. Now, Logan obviously will be out for a while due to his knee injury. However, if he wants to fight again, why not take this matchup? I believe stylistically this is a great matchup for Logan and would really favor him getting the win, but that's not to say JMX is a complete scrub that Logan Paul would easily dominate. I mean, he's coming off a finish over Ginty. Not crazy quality of opponent. However, it would be fun, and after that fight, he called out Logan, right? So it just makes sense in terms of things for Misfits, how they could promote it. JMX is also known for not fighting that often due to injuries. He's very injury prone, And guess what? Logan is injured. He's going to be out for a while. This fight needs to happen later on in the year, so why not give these both most of the year to really focus on the rehab side of things, get into a long camp that they can really focus on the recovery aspect of, and do this fight at the end of the year in the co-main event of the card, well, of the fight that's going to be number 1 on the list. It likely won't be a surprise to you, but still, why not do it? It's perfect for Logan as it really helps to reintroduce himself back into YouTube boxing, or crossover boxing, whatever we want to call it, and it'll likely result in him finally getting the victory. Number 4, King Kenny vs. FAZE TEMPERRR 2. The second and the final rematch on the list, King Kenny FAZE TEMPERRR 2, a revenge, no, a grudge match for both, as TEMPERRR was robbed of his moment on the night of the original fight, and Kenny's moment was reversed and taken away from him in the days that followed the original match. The storyline writes itself here, man. Kenny has gone on to win an ICB and Misfits belt, while TEMPERRR was brutally finished by Slim, and while he holds a recent victory over Overt Flow, his main claim in YouTube boxing is the fact that he holds a win over King Kenny. Now, for Kenny's legacy, he needs to get that fight back and put a stamp on the rivalry between himself and FAZE TEMPERRR. It would be an opportunity for Kenny to prove all the doubters wrong if he picked up a victory over FAZE TEMPERRR, and for FAZE TEMPERRR himself, assuming he picks up a victory on Misfits Series 4, beating King Kenny would be massive for him. He would be in line for a Slim rematch, and seeing as he defeated King Kenny in that rematch, he would now have a Misfits belt, and if he would defeat Slim for another Misfits belt, he would go down in history as likely the first Misfits double champ, assuming that someone like KSI doesn't do it before him. Number 3, DEJI vs. Joe Weller. Following Joe Weller's return to antagonizing the scene with a wild weigh-in altercation between himself and KSI, in which he begged for a rematch in a quote-unquote car park, a lot of fans want to see Joe Weller fight again. Now, if that's to support a content creator they enjoy, or if it's to see him lose, that's not quite known. However, what is known is the fact that fans love the idea of Joe Weller versus DEJI. This one makes sense too, as DEJI only wants big fights following the Mayweather fight, and this one could for sure main event a Misfits card with a strong undercard. DEJI and Weller don't seem to have a great deal of animosity between them. However, DEJI would likely not be opposed to stepping into the ring and fighting someone that really has a lot of problems with his brother. DEJI would likely win this one, but we can't count out Joe Weller, but if DEJI was to win, it would really set up the DEJI versus Alex Wasabi rematch, and if Joe Weller won, I guess it might just restore more respect on his name. Likely though, it wouldn't really set anything up for himself versus KSI. Number 2, Slim versus ANESON Gibb. Now, this is one of the most obvious matchups to make in all of YouTube boxing, as Slim has been calling out Gibb for a fight for years. And now that Slim is a big name with a belt around his waist and some more clout, it actually makes sense for Gibb to take this fight right now. Gibb is coming off of a good 2022, in which he did only fight once, but he went out and starched Austin McBroom following a tough round in which he would end up getting dropped in the opening round, come back, knock out McBroom, and kill Social Gloves in the process. However, Slim is coming off of a legendary 2022 in which he knocked out TEMPERRR on short notice, went to war against his rival Ryan Taylor, and consequently became arguably the second biggest star for Misfits. Now, his style also captured the imagination of countless fans, making him just extremely popular all around. However, Gibb has been pretty vocal about his dislike towards Misfits, so why not have Misfits' number 2 guy defend the promotion's honor against ANESON Gibb? Seeing as the fight has years of promotional material available and ready to draw from for promotional teams from Misfits would pretty much not be Misfits would be stupid not to make this matchup. That's what I'm trying to say, right? And for Slim to get this win, it would set up maybe even a KSI fight, or just at least remove all doubt that's been around him. Now for Gibb, man, it would be a big win for him. He would be a bit undersized coming up against Slim, as Slim's 6 foot, Gibb's about 5'8". However, if he could actually take the win, maybe he goes up and drops down a little bit, takes on Jay Swingler, more of his natural weight. He becomes a double champ by dropping weight, or you have him just kind of reign over the division, or he vacates that Misfits title and just screws over Misfits to prove how much he, for some reason, doesn't really like the promotion. Number 1, KSI versus Jake Paul. Surprise, surprise, who saw this coming? I mean, KSI, Jake Paul, Wembley, December 2023. Do I need to say anything else? Assuming that KSI can defeat DANIS and someone else, and Jake Paul can beat someone else before the end of the year, you could get this fight done December 2023. Finally, the ultimate ending to the Olatunji Paul family feud, and the best YouTube boxer will be crowned. I mean, maybe not in Wembley, you do this in MSG. This is a massive fight. Do this in MSG, do this in Wembley, one or the other. We need this as a boxing fan base. You do this cross-promotion, Misfits and MVP and Showtime and DAZN. It would be a crazy deal to get done, but if they can get this deal done, biggest match in YouTube boxing history by far, and talk from one side will cease to exist, and the greatest boxer in all of YouTube will be crowned once and for all.